The enduring legacy of a Broadway classic and Rothko's iconic color fields, that's all coming up on today's show. But we begin with a little Gallic warrior who's a big cultural phenomenon in France. The 40th volume of beloved comic Asterix has just been released. Asterix and the White Iris is a satire of wellness culture. It features a guru-like figure sent by Julius Caesar who threatens to take over Asterix's village by way of meditation and vegetarianism. This volume is the first written by comic book author Fabcaro. Here he is talking about what Asterix means to him.
They've become a sort of support, like a comfort blanket almost. The first time I read one, I was 6, 7 years old, and it's followed me all my life.
Well, Asterix was created back in 1959 by René Goscinny and Albert Uderzo, who have both since passed away. More than 6 decades later, Asterix remains a national icon. Almost everyone you ask here in France has an opinion about their favorite character. Take a listen.
I prefer Obelix because he's fat, and I've been fat and a glutton all my life. So someone who eats wild boar, that really appeals to me.
It has to be Asterix. He's powerful and he's funny.
I like Impedimenta, the chef's wife. She's tiny, but she's got character. She might not seem like the boss, but she is really.
I think I have to say I'm an Obelix fan myself. Next to a photographer who blurs the boundary between fashion and fine art, Dutch artist Vivien Sassin is one of the world's most sought-after fashion photographers, but she also works with collage, paintings, and video. The first major retrospective of her work is currently on show at the European House of Photography here in Paris. France 24's Marie Schuster went to check it out and to meet Vivien Sassin herself.
On this catwalk, it's not models, but colours that parade down it. Vivien Sassin knows how to set a scene. She's been doing so for the biggest fashion brands for 30 years, as well as in her artwork. Her use of bright colours and subtle interplay with light and shadow is her trademark.
Often they say that photographers are painting with light, but I think I'm much more interested in the shadows instead of the light. Of course you need light to make pictures, but that's what's hidden in the shadows is often much more interesting or exciting.
Vivien Sassin has often photographed black skin in her work, a tendency that has sometimes brought her charges of cultural appropriation and stereotyping. She says her inspiration stems from her young childhood spent on the African continent.
When I was young, the whole image of Africa was either black and white pictures, documentary shots, or it was the beautiful National Geographic kind of photography. But I had these memories of my own childhood in Kenya, which were so different, and I couldn't see that anywhere. So I tried to just change that image, just slightly.
The body is an obsession for this one-time model, and through her exquisite corpses, she deconstructs the image of women.
Someone said, yeah, but this can't be a self-portrait, is it? And I said, well, actually it is. It is about expressing a kind of force from within, which is unapologetic, and maybe not how, as women, we are raised as, you should behave and be kind, etc. And I think this is more like kind of a massive role. And sometimes we just want to stick out our tongue and be fierce and ferocious.
The retrospective showcases 200 photographs and collages, works that are sometimes uncomfortable, but provide an insight into the eye of a photographer in a perpetual search for the aesthetic.
Next, to a painter whose work is as simple as it is mesmerizing. Mark Rothko is the subject of a new retrospective at the Louis Vuitton Foundation in Paris, his first in France in over 2 decades. It traces the American artist's entire career, from his earliest figurative work to his famous color field paintings. Catherine Kadir-Clifford explains what makes Rothko's work so hypnotic.
with their XXL sizes and popping colours. Mark Rothko's paintings have been casting a spell on art lovers for the past 70 years. For the first time in a quarter of a century, a French museum is bringing together his œuvre. The artist's son Christopher says there's just one way to fully experience his father's work.
It's so important to see my father's paintings in person, not on a screen. My father really wants to have a conversation with you, face to face. And it's an emotional exchange. It is an exchange that is before language.
It's been coined the Rothko effect. Engaging with our brain cells in a particular way, Rothko's paintings are known for sparking an emotional reaction. Their immense format fully immerses the viewer. The paintings appear lit from within, a suggestion of something living embedded inside. No one ever saw Rothko paint, but his technique was inspired by the great Renaissance painters, such as Leonardo da Vinci, who would apply several transparent layers to bring a vibrant, almost living quality to his paintings. Rothko's work follows a similar technique, blending several light layers using a mysterious mix of paints and oil. The result, works often described as ethereal or transcendent, leaving the viewer hypnotized in front of them.
A touring production of West Side Story has arrived in Paris, bringing the French capital a little taste of Broadway from now through December. The staging by Lonnie Price remains faithful to the original, which opened all the way back in 1957. But as Emerald Maxwell explains, the legendary musical is as pretty, witty, and bright as ever.
It's got romance, action, and more than a hint of Shakespeare. The hit musical is back on stage in Paris, but 66 years after it was created, how has West Side Story stood the test of time?
Maria, I've just met a girl named Maria.
It's first of all the story of star-crossed lovers, a contemporary version of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Except that the balcony scene isn't set in fair Verona, but in 1950s New York. It's the story of Puerto Rican immigrant Maria, who falls in love with the all-American Tony. It's still a tale of forbidden love, but the vendetta is played out against the backdrop of racism, personified by the Jets and the Sharks, two warring street gangs. Since its release in cinemas in 1961, the fight scenes and choreography have become legendary, and still give today's music videos a run for their money. A timelessness apparent from the musical's first outing on Broadway in 1957. It continues to play to packed theatres around the world with its enduring hit song, America.
To keep clean.
The Puerto Ricans are poking fun at America and the American dream they had when they arrived. This song could just as well be sung today. It's the dream of any immigrant who arrives in a new country. But instead, they end up not in a big mansion, but in a tower block.
With its infectious mix of Latin music and jazz, West Side Story is a musical classic that still strikes a chord.
Cool! And finally, this weekend, Manga and SciFi superfans are donning their best cosplay as they gather for the annual Paris Manga and SciFi show. The many activities on offer include video game tournaments, crash courses in Japanese calligraphy, and a display of famous film cars like the DeLorean from Back to the Future or the Ghostbusters Ecto-1. Fans can also meet some of their favorite illustrators and actors, including Elijah Wood, aka Frodo Baggins of Lord and the Rings. We'll leave you with some footage from previous editions. Thanks so much for watching. For more culture, you can always head to our website, and there's news coming up on France 24 after this.
Savrikas, France 24's Athens correspondent. I'll be bringing you the latest from Greece and Cyprus live here on news and other TV programs. So join me here on France 24.
Nathalie Savarikas, one of the 200 France 24 correspondents around the world.